Words on screen, alphabet soup, acronyms. Julia, an olive-toned woman with brown wavy hair.
Hi everyone! Today we'll be discussing how to use acronyms. Let's first discuss what an acronym is. An acronym is a type of abbreviation or shortened version word made up of the first letters of each word in a phrase or name. That seems kind of confusing, right? Here's an example of what that means. DIY means do it yourself. Another example is ASAP, coming from the words as soon as possible. So what I just did was I took the first letter of each word in order to make an acronym. Acronyms create simplicity and efficiency in our writing and our discussions. You might even use acronyms in your text messages or on social media without thinking twice about it. Like saying BRB for be right back, or LOL for laugh out loud. While acronyms can shorten our sentence structure and make really long meetings much shorter, there's an important few things that you should know. Acronyms can mean different things to different people. And they can also cause confusion. They can cause a feeling of frustration, especially when someone doesn't know what you're referring to. Let's discuss more of what that means. As a disability rights advocate, I'm used to the ADA always meaning the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA is a part of my everyday lingo. I use it at work, with my friends, and many colleagues. However, the ADA can refer to something completely different. The American Dental Association. My mom, who's a dentist, uses the acronym ADA to refer to the American Dental Association. Totally different than the Americans with Disabilities Act. With that kind of example in mind, it's really important to remember that acronyms can be confusing for some and can mean different things for different people in different settings. So here's some tips on how you can use acronyms appropriately. Until you become fluent in the acronyms that are being used, whether as a board member, at work, or even amongst friends and family, it's always important to ask. If you're unsure and you want to learn what the acronyms stand for, you should always ask. And then maybe write it down or record it so that later you can play it back or read it to yourself to help with the retention of what those acronyms stand for. Sometimes agencies will have a list of acronyms that they commonly use. If they don't, you might want to offer creating an acronym reference list. Others who work with you or others who are on the board with you will help find this very helpful. It's important that whether in writing or in speaking or discussion, that you always state the word that you're referring to first and then the acronym. Here's some examples. Today, I would like to discuss how the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, implemented civil rights for people with disabilities. The ADA is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based on disability. So do you see what I just did there? I took the actual word, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then referenced as ADA. When I spoke about the ADA second, I didn't mean to reference the entire word again, but just use the acronym, because at that point, most people will know what you're referring to once you've already made that reference. Now, opposite of that is when you're confident and know for sure that everyone around you knows definitely the meaning behind an acronym, you no longer need to use the words first. So let me give an example of that. If you are on the board of the American Association of People with Disabilities, AAPD, and others are on the board with you, then when you're in discussion with them, you no longer need to state the entire word first. You can just use AAPD when referring to the organization. That's because other board members know the name behind the acronym. Another tip is to never make assumptions. This is really important, especially when you're working with outside agencies, outside partners, and donors. You never want to make a donor feel alienated or frustrated or confused because they don't know what you're referring to when using acronyms. So remember that when you're talking to outside sources, to always take a step back and think about what you're saying. And always, always, always never make an assumption.